Hello, this is a quick demonstration of how to analyze a sample using UScan software on a SpectraStar XT. So I'm running the UScan software in demo mode just on a computer, but the operation on an instrument is exactly the same. So I've configured a couple of options on here just to demonstrate some of the capability of the UScan software. So the UScan software has 4 views on the left-hand side. It's got a results screen, it's got a history screen, it's got an STC or a control chart view screen as well as just a raw data or a spectrum view. So starting at the results screen, you can see that it's just got a single sample display along with a configurable number of columns that can be shown. So this is set up in the product configuration settings. So the result view is used for single sample viewing. It also shows some of the sample details. In the history view, you've got multiple samples within that product visible. The history view is also where you do some of the operations like reporting or editing or looking at sample details. You access all of those features and functionalities through the history view. The control chart or the STC view shows you the history of your sample results plotted against your product limits that you've spectrum view. This is useful for diagnosing instrument problems or for plotting certain samples against other samples. So each one of these views allows you to scan a sample and stay within that view. So I will start up with the result view. I've configured the software with 2 user information fields. One is the operator, and I've made this a drop-down, and I've made it mandatory. In other words, a sample cannot be analyzed and the results saved unless you fill in this field. The other one is a purchase order number. It is just an open entry text field. Okay. So to analyze a sample, I'm going to use the control section of UScan, which is down at the bottom. I will click on select a product category. Normally there's only main there. And then I will select the product image. And you can see I've only got one product configured in this UScan installation. Once my product is selected, I can see what cup should be used for the analysis. I can go in and load that sample onto my instrument and press scan. So right now, if you notice in the background, the sample is analyzing. So we're saving time by filling out our sample registration screen while the sample is actually analyzing in the background. So the sample name, I've configured to just auto increment. Again, there are a lot of options for sample naming that are available. The operator, so I've selected this to be a drop-down, and I've made it mandatory. Here I've got purchase order number. Let's just say that that's my purchase order number, and here's a comment. So if you notice, I have not selected an operator. If I try to save these sample registration details, I get a message that says, please enter data in the field with the red boundary. So I can go in and I can select an operator and I can save the result. So looking at the result field, you can see that I've got colored results here. These are based on my product limits. So the greens are passed, the oranges are warnings, and the reds are actions. So they are outside of the limit. Similarly, my outlier indications are also color-coded, so these are all passes. And you can see over here on the right-hand side that I've got my full sample information, including the operator and purchase order number. Okay, so I can go in and I can scan another sample, this auto-incremented, and I'm going to have no purchase order number and no sample comment for this one. And I can click back. My instrument is still running, and you can see that now I've got a couple of other fields that are outside, but I've got ash now that is passing. I think in the last one, ash was failing. Okay. So again, these are being evaluated against our product limits. So looking at our other views, we've got the history view. You can see the last two samples that I analyzed are up here. If I click on them, I can go in and look at the details. I can see exactly what version of the different methods and configuration settings were used. I can also go in and see the exact values of all of these different constituents that are here. Okay. The next view down is the SPC, or the control chart view. You can see we've got ADF, ash, and fat. I can cycle through the different parameters so that I can, be focusing on the parameters of interest. For example, it might be moisture, NDF, and protein. Okay. So the reds are actions, the orange is warnings, and the green is our target. So this is just plotting the last values within our product according to these product limits. And again, these product limits are set up in the configuration setting, and this is well detailed in the operation manual of UScan software. So as I mentioned before, I can scan from this screen as well. So I can go in and make these results. And if you notice, it just added another sample onto our sample results. Okay. So I can, if I'm in a production environment, for example, and I'm just concerned with trending, I can just stay in the SPC, or the control chart view, and scan directly from here. And likewise, here is the spectral view. So this is really useful just to look at the overall shape of a sample spectrum. If you want to, you can also go in and you can plot multiple samples. There are actually three, if you can see it, but there's a light green one here. But you can go in and plot your different samples just to make comparisons of the spectrum. While you are scanning, you do have a couple of options down here, one of which is to print a report. If you've set up a report, a default report template, if you press the print, it will send a report based on that report template to your Windows default printer. Okay, so that's a quick overview of sample scanning in UScan software on the SpectraStar XT. Thank you.